My husband. Of 5 years suddenly filed for divorce without explaining why. But I ended up overhearing a shocking conversation he had with his friend that revealed everything. My husband, who is 32, and I, 30 at the time, got married 5 years ago. We had been dating for about 2 years before that. I was completely head over heels in love with him, so when he asked me to marry him, I said yes without thinking twice. Back then, my husband was an actor who was struggling to find work, while I'm a surgeon. So, I pretty much paid for all our household expenses. I didn't mind it at all. I wanted him to chase his dream and was more than happy to take care of all the bills. He barely made half of what I did, and usually only got parts as an extra, but he never gave up. Recently, he actually landed a minor role in a full-length film, and I was so happy for him. He only has about 10 to 15 minutes of screen time, but even that is a huge deal for him, and I was really excited about it. This happened a couple of months ago, and they were supposed to start shooting for his part in a few weeks. But then, everything just completely fell apart for me. 5 days ago, out of nowhere, my husband served me with divorce papers. I was completely blindsided. I had never even imagined he would ask me for a divorce. He seemed pretty happy with me, and I was certainly happy with him, so this was incredibly sudden. He told me he just didn't feel the same way about me anymore. He said he wanted to spend more time and energy on his career now that he was finally getting serious opportunities. He told me this was just the beginning for him, and he needed a fresh start. That meant he couldn't be held back by his past life, which apparently included me. I couldn't believe he was saying all this, especially after everything I had done for us, all the sacrifices I had made, and all the times I had put his dreams before my own. And this is what it led to. I must have cried for hours that day. I literally begged him to give our marriage another chance, but he was finished. He told me there was nothing I could do to fix things, and that he just didn't have feelings for me anymore. He said that's why it would be best for us to separate now. Then, he packed up his things and left, leaving me completely broken-hearted. That was 5 days ago. I was absolutely lost for the next 4 days. I didn't even go to work. That's how depressed I was. I just kept wishing I would wake up from this terrible dream. Then yesterday, I got a call from my husband. He asked if I could drop off some of his formal clothes at his friend's house, where he's staying now because he had a meeting the next day. I agreed right away. I figured it would give me a chance to see him in person and try to convince him to come back one more time. I guess I was feeling pretty desperate, so I did what I had to and drove over to his friend's place. Once I got there, I noticed the door was open, and I could hear my husband and his friend talking inside. I was about to knock and go in, but then I heard his friend ask him why he had even married me in the first place if he never intended to stay with me. That definitely caught my attention, and I decided to stay quiet so I could eavesdrop on their conversation and get some answers. It sounded like they had already been talking about me, and I just happened to show up at a bad time for them, though it turned out to be the right time for me. Before answering his friend's question, my husband just laughed. Then he said the only reason he married me was so he could use me to get ahead in his career. Other than that, he had no love for me in his heart. He also said that over the years, he had cheated on me countless times with random women he met on set or at parties. I almost gasped out loud, but I somehow managed to stop myself because I wanted to hear more of what my dear husband had to say. He kept talking and revealed that he had met me through a friend of his. This friend told him I was the daughter of a highly respected dental surgeon, which is true. My dad is one of the best dentists in the state. My husband also knew that a really popular actor happened to be a frequent client of my dad's. He'd heard about this from a couple of his friends who were in the know. I can't name names for obvious reasons, but that part is also true. Gradually, all the puzzle pieces started falling into place for me as he continued speaking. He explained how he had asked me out as a last-ditch effort to make his acting career work. The fact that I was quite wealthy and easy to manipulate was just a bonus. So, for 5 years, he pretended to love me while waiting for a chance to connect with my dad's famous client. That opportunity finally came up at my dad's 50th wedding anniversary party about 5 months ago. My dad had invited a lot of his friends, including his most popular client, who was also a close friend of his. I have no idea how, but my husband managed to talk to him at the party. He even impressed him by turning on the charm and ended up getting his number. My dad's client was only there for half an hour because he was very busy, but even in that short time, my husband got his number. As much as I despise him now, I have to admit my husband can be quite charming when he wants to be, so I wasn't surprised he pulled it off. But the fact that this was the reason he wasted 5 years of not just his own life with me, but also put me through unimaginable heartbreak, yeah, I couldn't handle it. And, to make things worse, I was the reason he even landed this role in the first place. The director of the film hired him based on my dad's client's recommendation. So, this was all thanks to me, and yet I'm the one who was cheated on and is now facing divorce. I really felt like walking in there and punching him in the face, but I managed to stay calm. I walked back to my car and drove home. This was yesterday afternoon, so I had plenty of time to feel furious and start thinking of a plan to get back at this selfish monster. I got back home and tried to meditate for a while because I was so furious. I was afraid I might end up physically hurting him if I didn't get my emotions under control. So, I did everything I could to distract myself and come up with a plan to ruin him in a different way. The only thing I could think of was asking my dad for the actor's phone number, calling him, and demanding that my husband be fired from the film. But I wasn't sure if that would actually work. This was a professional matter, and I didn't know if they would even care about what I had to say. My dad's client had known me since I was in college. We weren't super close, but he definitely knew me better than he knew my husband. So eventually, I decided it was at least worth a shot. I ended up calling him that evening after talking to my dad. I hadn't told anyone about the divorce yet, not even my family, because I still thought maybe I could turn things around. This was the first time I was really admitting it was happening, so I was incredibly nervous. His assistant connected me after a few tries. After some awkward small talk, I finally just blurted out what I wanted him to do. I didn't stop talking until I had told him everything. I explained that my husband had been cheating on me and had basically used me and my dad's connections to get a role in a film. I told him that if there was any fairness in the world, he would use his influence to get my husband fired from the film. I said all this in one breath, and I'm pretty sure he was just as uncomfortable hearing it as I was saying it, maybe even more so. There were a few seconds of silence before he simply said he would look into it. Then he hung up after I thanked him. Of course, I was pretty embarrassed by what had just happened, but it was done. All I could do was wait to hear back from either him or my husband. So that's what I did. About 2 hours later, around 10 p.m., I started getting several frantic calls from my husband. That's when I knew he must have been fired already. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. I sent a thank you text to the man who made it happen. Apparently, there wasn't a formal contract yet, just a verbal agreement, so it wasn't a huge problem for the film to let him go. He texted back and even wished me luck for the future. That was incredibly kind of him, and it actually made me feel a bit better about people in general. I ignored all my husband's calls and texts, turned off my phone, and went to sleep without a single worry. Honestly, I think I had the best sleep of my life so far, and I'm not even exaggerating. But then this morning, a few hours after I woke up and was getting ready to leave for work, I heard my husband screaming my name right outside the door, begging me to let him in. I had no intention of letting him inside, and told him I needed to go to work, and he needed to leave. He wouldn't budge. He kept begging me to talk to him just one last time before I decided to cut him out of my life for good. After a while, it got kind of annoying, so I finally let him in and told him not to waste any more of my time. He immediately fell to his knees and started crying, saying he had made a mistake and that I was the only woman he had ever loved. He begged me to give him one more chance. But now I knew just how good an actor he was, so I didn't feel sorry for him at all. I let him sob for a few minutes, and then I asked him how that acting job in the film was working out for him. I made sure my tone sounded like I was mocking him, because let's be honest, that's exactly what I was doing. I think he looked surprised for a second or two before standing back up as the reality started to sink in. Once he finally figured out that I was the one who caused him to lose the opportunity of a lifetime, he completely lost it. He started screaming in my face about how I had ruined his life and that he was going to make me pay for it. I didn't hold back either. I yelled right back that he was the one who had ruined 5 years of my life and that he deserved this, and even worse. We must have been screaming at each other for about 5 minutes. But then he finally seemed to break down. He knew that no amount of yelling was going to bring back what he had lost, not the role, and definitely not the comfortable life he had been living with me. And he had nobody to blame but himself. I almost felt sorry for him, but then even while he was crying, he made sure to warn me that he would take everything in the divorce and make sure I ended up on the street. Those were some pretty bold words, and any sympathy I felt for him disappeared immediately when he said that. I told him as politely as I could to get the hell out of my house. He actually left, still crying but muttering curse words at me under his breath the whole time. I decided to skip work again today. What had happened was really intense and awful, so I'm just not in the right headspace right now. Am I the a-hole for ruining my husband's career right before it took off, because he had been using me for years and had even been cheating on me? Update 1. I finally told my friends and family about the divorce. They were just as shocked as I was when my husband first told me what he wanted, but then I explained what I had overheard at his friend's house. They were all so disgusted that they even told me what I had done in return was nothing compared to what he had done to me. My dad was obviously furious that his son-in-law had used both me and him to get what he wanted. He wanted to go over to my husband's place and literally beat some sense into him, but I managed to calm him down somehow. I'm glad that most people agree that what I did was completely justified. What he did to me was beyond cruel. He basically ruined my faith in men and marriage forever. So, I think he deserved to have his hard work taken away from him. If he invested years into his career, well, I also invested several years and a ton of money into our marriage. If he could single-handedly ruin our marriage, then I don't think me single-handedly ruining his career should be that big of a deal to him. But I guess it is. For some reason, he feels like he was robbed of an opportunity because of me. He keeps bothering me online, demanding that I take back what I said and somehow help him get the role back. I keep blocking his accounts, but he's desperate enough to keep creating new ones. So, I'm thinking about getting off social media completely. I don't know why he feels entitled enough to even text me after what he's done, but I think after a while he'll realize that he's completely finished, and there's no coming back from this. I guess whatever he said about ruining me in the divorce was just empty words, after all. Both of us know very well that he's not actually capable of doing anything to me. Update 2. I blocked my husband on social media and shut down my accounts a few days ago, but now I guess I have to change my phone number too. Since last night, I've received about 70 to 80 spam calls from several different numbers, and it's really getting on my nerves. Every couple of minutes, my phone starts buzzing nonstop, and it's always a new number. I don't know how he's doing this, but I know it's him. I even called him to make him stop and tried to warn him that these little stunts would definitely affect the divorce settlement. Obviously, I was bluffing. There's no settlement, I don't owe him anything. But I was still trying to use it as leverage so he'd stop bothering me. But he was insisting he had nothing to do with any of it. I could tell by his voice he was lying, but he kept denying it, which was even more frustrating. Towards the end, when I was close to crying, he hinted that the calls might stop by some miracle, and that miracle involved him getting his role back. I actually ended up screaming some choice curse words at him through the phone as loud as I could, and then I turned it off. I still haven't turned it back on and am using my laptop to get online right now. I'll only turn it back on after I can get a new number. Hopefully then he won't be able to drive me crazy because he won't be able to reach me at all. As for the divorce, I think everyone knows I'm not going to fight it. We're supposed to appear in court in a few days. I don't know why he's acting out like this, considering we're seeing each other in court so soon. He knows very well that I can mess him up if I want to. Lucky for him, I really don't want to. I did what I had to do, and now I just feel like letting this whole thing go peacefully, without any more fighting. I don't think holding on to this anger and letting myself be bothered by him will ever truly allow me to move on from this. So, I just want it to be over now. I don't care what happens to him, whether he succeeds in the future or fails. I just don't care and don't want anything to do with him anymore. Update 3. So, the day after tomorrow, my husband and I were supposed to appear in court. And of course, he couldn't just let that happen without doing something completely insane and messed up. I had changed my numbers, and since my social media accounts were deactivated, he couldn't reach me anymore. I was so sure I had him beat this time and that he would just have to give up. But I guess I really underestimated just how psycho he is. Last evening, I was on my way back home and was about to get into my car when my husband appeared out of absolutely nowhere and got into the seat next to me. Then, before I even had time to react, he locked the car doors from the inside. As soon as I realized what was happening, I grabbed my purse to get out my pepper spray. But I was too late. He had already taken it away from me and tossed my purse into the back seat. I was terrified. I was ready to apologize or do whatever he wanted me to do in that moment. He spoke to me really calmly, which somehow scared me even more. He told me he didn't want much from me. He just wanted me to call my dad's actor client, take back everything I told him, and make sure he got the role back. I thought, okay, that seems easy enough, but my phone was in my purse, so I told him I needed it to make the call. Now, I'm not stupid, but my husband sure is. As soon as he handed me the purse, I grabbed my pepper spray. I think I emptied about half the can in one go. I could barely see anything because my eyes were watering and stinging so badly. But his condition was even worse than mine. After getting sprayed, he was literally gasping for air. I unlocked the doors, shoved him out of the car, and left him coughing on the ground before driving away. I only managed to get out of the parking lot and a few yards away from my workplace before I had to stop and get out of my car. I was struggling to see and definitely couldn't drive all the way home like that. Thankfully, a taxi pulled up for me, and the driver seemed like a helpful person. He could tell something was really wrong and offered to drive me to the nearest police station. I said yes, without thinking twice. Honestly, the next 2 hours were kind of a blur for me because I was still so shaken up by what had happened in the parking lot. I knew my husband was messed up, but this was way more than I ever expected. I could hardly believe I had been happily married to this man for 5 years, and he was the one putting me through this terrible situation now. Thankfully, he was arrested since he hadn't been able to get away from the parking lot because of how bad he was doing. When they brought him in, his face was still red and slightly swollen, and I was glad he was in pain. Once I pressed charges against him, I left. But instead of going back home, I headed to my parents' place. Honestly, I just didn't feel safe being by myself anymore. I haven't left their house since I got here. My parents have been incredibly kind and have been taking care of me like I'm their little girl again. That's been some comfort. My dad promised me that he's going to make sure this man gets the punishment he deserves, and I'm not going to stop him this time. Some men need to learn they can't just treat women however they want and get away with it. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since my last update. I'm happy to let you know that my husband was sentenced to 3 months in prison and a significant fine for what he did to me. I wish he had gotten more time, but this feels fair enough. As for the divorce, we were able to speed it up, and it's going to be finalized much faster than typical divorce cases, given everything that happened. He's also not getting any money from me at all, so yay for me on that. I've sold the house and even my car, so there's no way he can ever find me again. I've also started working at a newer and better hospital that's much closer to my parents' place, which makes commuting easier. Yes, I'm still living with them. They absolutely refuse to let me go back to living by myself, even though my husband literally can't get to me anymore, at least not right now. But honestly, I'm kind of happy they're keeping me close because I still haven't fully recovered from the shock of everything. I've started therapy to help me deal with my emotions. Of course, healing will take time. I can't expect everything to go back to normal in just a day or two. Even though I try my best to push him out of my mind, I still find myself looking back at the years we spent together. I can't believe it was all just lies and nothing more, because some moments really did feel genuine. Every time I find myself thinking about him, I actively force myself to remember what happened afterward, the things I overheard and the incident in the parking lot. That seems to bring me back to the present. I know these emotional wounds won't heal quickly, but I'm taking things one day at a time. Hopefully I'll be okay again someday soon, and I swear, that day can't come soon enough.